Okay, awesome. Well, first off, how are you guys today?
I'm really good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks.
I
So,
like that you have the motivation of some Marvel characters by your treadmill. I feel like that's the proper place for them to give you that extra kick when you need it. Like
Yep.
what better motivation than these muscular characters?
gotta look like Black Widow. So, to start off, like, first off, look, something must have been wrong with my screener because I didn't hear a release date for Brute Force. Like, I
Oh.
didn't get that. When are
Look,
you releasing the
from
Scheer
your
cut?
mouth to Bob Chapek's ears. Let's get this going. Can you get Kevin Feige on the phone? We need him to rubber stamp this.
All right. So, once we release the Scheer cut, we can start talking about this project. So, first off, for real, how did you get involved in this project? Like, what drew you to Marvel Comics and in Marvel 616?
Well, I have a history with Marvel. Not only have I written a handful of books for Marvel, I've actually been in a Marvel book as myself. I am a villain in Astonishing Ant-Man #4. So I have a deep connection to Marvel besides it just being part of my DNA. I think the first book I ever read was a Spider-Man comic book, So when Sarah had this idea to do a documentary series kind of exploring and celebrating this rich history of Marvel Comics, it was a conversation that started incredibly casually. It was with their production partner, Supper Club, and we were talking about what's interesting in this world. What's a story that we can tell? And I think that's the way that most comic books start off too. Like, what is a story that we want to explore that we can find relatable, that we have a connection with? And, to me, it was kind of this slightly tongue-in-cheek, but honestly true premise. Like, to make it in Hollywood now, you need to have a Marvel character. I mean, we see it time and time again. It is the secret of success. I mean, the dream of all dreams is to be involved in a successful Marvel project. Let's go. And I saw the success of Guardians of the Galaxy, which is, I think to most people before the films, a book that not many people knew. It wasn't, it's very similar to the way that we talk about it in documentary. Reggie Hudlin came across Black Panther. It was, yes, a book that existed, but what he brought to it was this new life, this new energy. And Marvel has been known to kind of pair creators who are passionate with properties that they either have created or to reinvigorate those properties. So for me, it was about what are these other characters that exist. I think of it as the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark. Every box has a treasure in it. Like, let's open up some of those boxes. And I found the best way to kind of do that, to kind of share the secret language that we all have as Marvel fans, is to talk to people about their favorite weird Marvel characters. They're not bad. They just are the ones that probably aren't the forward-facing ones. They're not, they're not the top 5 that come to most non-Marvel fans' minds, right? I think most people can just probably name like, oh, Iron Man, Spider-Man, Black Panther, but to me, it was kind of going in here and just digging in and finding like, wait, what was that about? Oh, I didn't read that one. And I just love that. I love that there's so much more left to be mined in this world.
Sarah, I'd love to hear from you on that as well.
Yeah, look, I mean, this series really started beyond just even Paul's episode as a bunch of us at Marvel, including myself, our other co-executive producers, Harry Go, John Sorelli, Stephen Wacker, and others, really just wanting to showcase a lot of the legacy, the stories, the creators that maybe people weren't as familiar with, right? Marvel is, in so many ways, as Stan always would say, the world outside your window. And we wanted to take a step back and really show how we've been influenced by that world, but also to some degree how we have influenced that world. And from there, when we started working with our production company, Supper Club, and our partners in this, it really just all snowballed so quickly. And they brought in so many directors and producers and folks who were passionate about Marvel or passionate about storytelling or passionate about different places in the world. And then we just started to connect all the pieces together. And the beauty of Marvel is there's so much, right? There's 80 years, there's everything from comedy to gritty street drama and everything in between. So we had so much to play with that it then just became watching these pieces fall together and going on this journey of really discovery for all of us across these 8 episodes until we got to a final product that we hope kind of is a bit of a love letter to Marvel, a love letter to our fans, and hopefully we'll bring in some new fans, because there is a degree to which I think this series can really resonate with people who maybe currently wouldn't call themselves Marvel fans, but are going to get sucked in by an episode like Spotlight that Alison Brie directed, that really is as much about high school theater and growing up as it is actually about Marvel characters.
So speaking of that journey of discovery, what is something that you learned or found in this particular episode that surprised you the most? Tell me about something that just like shocked you.
You know, in my episode, I think what was really surprising was the particular passion behind the creation of these characters. We talked a little bit about brute force, and when I got to meet the person who came up with the idea of brute force, to sit with him and his original drawings and look at how he was inspired by science, right? He believed in robotics, and he believed that if he combined robotics and animals, we could create this, you know, kind of foreshadowing of our future, you know, and what if the animals talked, and what if we could make them into literal vehicles? And the idea of like animals into vehicles sounds like, oh, you're just making a toy. But what was surprising was this person who created it did not approach it that way. He approached it really as someone who saw this as our future and was passionate about that. And that, to me, really kind of, I think it made me less skeptical, right? Because I think we live in a world where, you know, all of a sudden it's like Connect 4, the movie, you know, and I think we're so predetermined, like, oh, okay, they're just trying to get money out of this. And I think what Marvel really does is it empowers the most bizarre ideas. And that is why that, you know, most people who've never read a Marvel comic book know about a tree and a raccoon that saved the universe, you know, but on paper, that may be like, wait a second, we got Spider-Man, we got a tree? Like, you know what I'm saying? And so I love that. I just love that the passion is what I think makes these characters accessible and that you come back to.
I think for me, I mean, so many things. I do say, just say like Street Poet Ray. I did not see Street Poet Ray coming. I did not suspect Street Poet Ray, and then there was Street Poet Ray, and that's all I'm going to say.
I forgot about Street Poet Ray.
I want everyone to explore and discover Street Poet Ray on their own. But it was really true across every episode, right? Like we went in with an idea of what we wanted to do, but each episode had surprises and had new discoveries for myself, for folks who had worked at Marvel for 10, 15 years, right? Interviews that we unearthed, footage that we didn't know existed. I mean, the entirety of the Japanese Spider-Man episode was just a discovery for the whole team as we went. And so, you know, I think that comes across in the final product, right? Each episode really is taking you on this journey, and there's such joy in the eyes of our subjects through the lens of the filmmaker. It really is just a series that should be filled with like fun and just like an appreciation for the fandom that Marvel has created.
Yeah, I have to, just picking up off of what Paul said, this really reinforced my conception of art as nobody sets out to make bad art, right? Like,
no, 100%. I've worked on many movies and no one has ever set out to make a bad movie. And I've been in bad movies.
Okay. And it looks like that's all I have time for today. But hey, thank you guys so much. Good luck with the launch and the rest of the junket.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So much.